morning. You're watching Businessworld Live. I'm Danny Laurel. It's the start of a new trading day. Let's kick off with our banner story. Unemployment steadied at 7.7% in the month of June, but the number of jobless Filipinos slightly increased month on month. Now, fresh data from the Philippine Statistics Authority showed that there were 3.76 million unemployed Filipinos in the month of June. That's 30,000 higher than the 3.73 million figure recorded in May of this year. Employment rate remained unchanged, that's at 92.3%, with employed persons also slightly increasing to 45.08 million from 44.72 million in the month of May. On the other hand, underemployment increased to 14.2% from 12.3% in May. The national statistician Dennis Mapa attributed the slight rise in employment and unemployment numbers to the increase in the labor force. Data from the PSA also showed that there were 48.84 million Filipinos in the labor force in June. That's higher than the 48.45 million in the month of May. Meanwhile, economists warn that the country's recovery prospects could dim if the enhanced community quarantine in Metro Manila goes beyond 2 weeks and extends to other regions. Nomura Global Research says the return of the lockdown is consistent with its view that the Philippines' recovery will lag behind its regional peers in Southeast Asia. AM economist John Paulo Rivera says a bigger stimulus is needed to address a possible consumption crunch due to tighter mobility restrictions. Metro Manila will be placed under ECQ from August 6th to August 20th. The Octa research team projects new cases in the Philippines to reach a daily average of 9,000 this week. That's ahead of the reimposition of ECQ. Now, Octa's Guido David explained that COVID-19 cases in the country is still accelerating, especially in Metro Manila. With the current rate of infections, David warned we might see 2,000 to 2,500 daily cases in NCR before August 6th. Meanwhile, Health Secretary Francisco Duque confirms that the country is now feeling the effects of the spread of the Delta variant. During the latest Talk to the Nation address, Duque noted that the average COVID-19 cases nationwide has risen by 23% in this week alone. This as the Department of Health recorded more than 8,000 daily cases over the last 3 days. The big question here is, have all these negatives been priced in by our markets and our investors? Now, according to Call Financial, yes. Now, if you take a look at my terminal here, you do see quite a slide at the open. That's 2 minutes into trade. We are down by 0.6% to 6,400 levels. But nevertheless, what Call is actually saying is that we might be rising to 8,100 by the end of the year. They say inflation has already peaked, earnings are recovering, and of course, vaccinations are picking up amid the spread of the Delta variant. And they said this is lower than their previous target, which was actually 8,300 levels, but still is a 26% gain from the close that we saw on Monday. This according to April Litan. She is the chief equity strategist. We should be patient and remain optimistic. Now, of course, this comes as you've got 70% of adults over in the US already having received at least one dose of COVID-19. That is a key milestone over there, even if it comes 1 month later after President Joe Biden's original goal target timeline. Let's take a look at our movers this morning as I open the markets. Robinson's Retail heading the back up by 2.5% together with Aboitiz Power. But on the downside, you've got San Miguel dragging down our bellwether index. It's down by 2.3% together with PLDT, URC, and MPIC. Now, before I go to some of these movers specifically, I did want to report some more earnings that we need to be digesting here. Specifically, Bloomberry, they're trading flattish now. That's after they had said that their second quarter net loss is at 1.2 billion pesos. Still a loss, but nothing compared to the 4.7 billion peso year loss that they had last year in the second quarter. Still, for every person that owns a share, that's around 10 pesos and 6 centavos of a loss that per share that they had. And this comes on the back of revenue still rising. That was from 941 million pesos last year. Has actually been rising now to 10.3 billion pesos in the first half. Now let's take a look at another set of earnings today. That is Semirara as well. You can see Semirara sliding by 0.12%. That's as they say that their second quarter net income was close to 4 billion versus the 1.05 billion pesos that they saw last year. They did mention higher profit was due to record high sales in coal and also the prices. Now recall that the coal prices surged in the second quarter on average by 49%. And speaking of power and coal, you do have Aboitiz Power, but they're looking on the other end of the scale, and that is at renewable energy. They are saying that they were going to spend 190 billion pesos in the next 10 years for renewable energy. They said they expect to spend for 3,700 megawatts under the Cleanergy portfolio. Aboitiz Power here jumping up by close to 2% on the back of that news. And finally, I did want to just take a very quick peek at URC, one of our movers here. Even as it's going back down to earth after having seen a surge of 6.6% at its peak yesterday, they are saying they expect to get $476 million in cash from the sale of Uni Snack. That is their business in Australia and New Zealand. They will be selling that to Inter Snack. They said they expect to book a gain from this transaction, which will be recognized upon closing. URC trading at 132 pesos and 9 centavos, down by 1.6%. Here are the other headlines for keeping our eyes on. President Rodrigo Duterte has approved funds for ayuda or cash aid for 80% of Metro Manila's population. That's ahead of the 2-week enhanced community quarantine that begins on August 6. This was confirmed in a Facebook post by Senator Bong Go. The Go said that each qualified NCR resident will receive 1,000 pesos worth of financial assistance for a maximum of 4,000 pesos per household. About 10.8 million people are expected to benefit from this said ayuda. Recall that Palace spokesman Harry Roque earlier mentioned that qualified NCR workers will also be entitled to financial aid of up to 4,000 pesos per household. In an interview with Radio 5, NTF COVID-19 spokesperson Restituto Padilla, however, said that they have yet to determine just how much of the total amount the national government can provide. Padilla added that both the DILG and the DSWD will be in charge of this latest aid. The Trade Department has given assurance that there will be an adequate supply of goods during the ECQ in Metro Manila. Now, Trade Secretary Mon Lopez said there is no need for panic buying since a large portion of the production sector from agriculture to industry and services will be allowed to continue operating despite the stricter quarantine. Thus, Lopez said there will be a continuous supply of commodities during the 2-week ECQ. Now, for his part, Philippine Amalgamated Supermarkets Association President Stephen Kua says they are seeing less panic buying for this round of lockdowns. He explained that only a handful of stores are experiencing panic buying. He said other stores are seeing what he calls enhanced community buying, where customers buy additional supplies without hoarding or going into a frenzy. It's 3 days left until businesses close and people yet again lose employment. How to prepare ourselves for these tough weeks, yet another round of lockdowns. Here to chat with us, we have Edgardo Lacson, Acting President of the PCCI. Good morning, sir, and welcome to the broadcast. Hi, sir. Can you say, are you here with us? Can you hear us?
Good morning. Yes.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir. Sir, before we kick in
Good morning.
to some numbers here, we just want to clarify from your end, from the PCCI end, are you in favor of this lockdown? Of course, nobody is in favor of lockdowns, but are you in favor of the fact that we are preempting the spread of Delta during a month when, normally the activity is muted? They say it's so-called ghost month. And also to save the fourth quarter wherein consumption is hopefully going to drive the economy.
Well, you said it, you took the word out of my mouth. Business is never in agreement with any lockdown because it is very disruptive to our operation. But it is also a militaristic approach to a pharmaceutical problem. we have read testimonials saying that lockdown may not be necessary if the vaccine program is rolled out fast enough to cover the herd immunity. Well, anyway, we have already experienced the impact on business last year with the intermittent lockdown, and for sure, this year there will be more businesses that will be shattered and more jobs that will be lost. As a matter of fact, Secretary Carl Chua says 105 billion per week will be lost in the economy because of this lockdown. So I don't think there'll be any difference between our experience last year and our experience in the next 2 weeks on the lockdown.
Sir, we just also received the unemployment figures for the month of June, 7.7%. Of course, it's a flat rate. It hasn't really changed. Can you say that this figure is going to be changing again, towards the third quarter of the year? How many job losses are you expecting? How many business closures are you expecting for this 2 week period?
Well, from the dollar estimate, there'll be more than almost 100,000 jobs that will be lost in these next 2 weeks. That will add to the 7.7% unemployment rate right now.
Sir, how are businesses preparing for this? Is this an inevitable figure, this 100,000 jobs, or is there still something that can be done? Of course, this is not our first lockdown, and the government has given, let's say, 1 week to prepare. Are businesses able to pivot this time around to avoid more job losses?
The government says COVID-19 is war. We are at war with COVID-19. And no amount of preparation, no amount of time given to prepare will be enough or sufficient to prepare for war. You must remember, America went to Vietnam at war, well prepared, but it lost the war. So nobody is really prepared for war because of too many imponderables. And I think the 2 week lockdown will even worsen already a dire situation that we have since the start of the pandemic.
Mhm. Sir, you mentioned 100,000 jobs lost. What about number of business closures? And if so, are these business closures temporary? Have you seen them in the previous lockdowns just closing down for a few weeks and then able to be agile to get back on their feet again? Or will this lead to permanent business closures?
It's hard to get an estimate on how many business closures. But last year, we closed businesses around to more than 100,000 businesses to close them permanently.
Mm.
Some were on retrenchment, some were slowdown. So these 2 weeks, we can expect a little less, but still a significant number of companies that will be closed down.
And sir, final question before we let you go. Ayuda of workers now being disbursed, but that's maximum of 4,000 pesos lang per family. Most might be receiving between 1,000 and 4,000 pesos. Is this amount going to help? Is this something that we can say is a relief if the government, of course, disburses this in time before the 2 weeks?
Well, the needs of families are situational. Every family is different from another family in terms of consumption pattern. So the 4,000 may be more than enough for some, but it could be insufficient for the others. So we don't know. But 4,000 is an arbitrary amount that is set aside for budgeting purposes, for the allocation of resources. So we really don't know on the ground whether it is enough or not enough.
Okay, but as you mentioned, any ayuda is helpful, but of course, if it's enough is the bigger question here. And inevitably, we will be facing job losses. No amount of preparation and agility can prepare for another hard lockdown. Thank you, sir, for all of those insights. That was Edgardo Lacson, acting president of the PCCI. And that's a first look into the business day. Today's Tuesday, August 3rd, 2021. Catch Business World Live for the market close. That's at 3:15 p.m. today. I'm Danny Laurel. Mask on, wash hands, stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.